If there's one kind of video I have requested on my channel every now and again, it's a Hasbro rant. A lot of people generally aren't happy with Hasbro. They make a lot of decisions that collectors generally disagree with. They do a lot of things that make it more difficult to actually get products. And I wanted to talk about Hasbro. Just talk about Hasbro with you. A lot of people who complain and rant about Hasbro as like the worst toy company ever still buy their stuff. And I feel like you really can't call something really, really bad if you still buy their stuff, because you're kind of literally, by your definition and by your standards, eating poop. So don't do that. Because if you think something is really bad or really shit, don't eat it. Don't consume it. Um, that's my reasoning. Because with Mattel, I generally don't like their newer products, so I don't buy any of them. I got the Suicide Squad Deadshot for some reason. I guess I was just curious about the multiverse line, and it's okay, but all the rest just look like trash. Anyways, getting back on Hasbro, one of the main complaints, one of the biggest things that I see people talking about, 5 POA and good old 6-inch Black Series. These are the things that people really complain about. They complain about 5 POA not being super articulated. They complain about it not being as nicely painted, even though nowadays I think the paint and sculpting on 5 POA is superb. And people complain about Black Series because they're not the classic scale, and they're hard to find, and they don't really live up to expectations. Now, one thing I want to talk about first is 5 POA. I'm going to be honest with you guys. When 5 POA came out, I was actually really behind it. Back when it came out, it was only $6 for a single figure and $10 for two. Really, really good deals for what you got. The quality wasn't as nice when it first started out, so I do feel like the quality has improved as the price has improved. However, the reason why it exists, number one, the costs for toys are going up. They're going way up. And another thing is because Hasbro wanted to have a cheaper alternative for small Star Wars action figures. Because if you look at modern Star Wars action figures that are super articulated, I don't really see a parent wanting to buy this figure that's only this tall for $13. I don't see a parent wanting to do that. However, for $6, now like $8, it's a little more reasonable. I do believe that modern 5 POA, here's one of my favorites, Saw Gerrera, looks way, way better. This looks like a genuine, nice collectible. And even though this has some pretty wonky paint, like, I really wanted to pick this one because for how simplistic the paint is, they still managed to kind of mess it up a little bit on the helmet. It's pretty interesting how 5 POA has initially, it used to be just an alternative for parents, and it still kind of is, because after all, at the end of the day, we're talking about toys. However, the articulated stuff still existed for collectors. Nowadays, this barely exists. My last video showcasing this figure, the eBay price was $28. Now the cheapest to buy it now is $40. Yeah, Hasbro has pretty much made these very unobtainable. Now, I'm not some sort of conspiracy theorist, but I have a mild reason to believe that Hasbro is making these harder to find as Walmart exclusives because they want collectors to eventually phase out of it. These are very expensive to make. They're small. They have a lot of engineering. They've always been pretty difficult to produce, and I guess they're just not making enough money for Star Wars 3 3/4 inch super articulated nowadays, and that's a shame. But what I think they should do, they should make the price about $8 9 and do things that they used to do, say, for Revenge of the Sith, where select characters don't have leg articulation, select characters only have swivels at the elbows, while some characters are more articulated, like troopers. I really wish they would go that route instead of just being all or nothing. It's a bit of a shame that they haven't met some middle ground, because I think that would please both parents, kids, and collectors. But yeah, my theory is that Hasbro just kind of wants that to fade away in favor of the 6-inch Black Series, which I do want to make an entire different video on the 6-inch Black Series, so I'm not going to go over a lot of things with it. But my main concern is that it doesn't really fit in with the genre of what Star Wars toys have always been. Star Wars toys have always had a lot of interaction, a lot of things to interact with. They've always had play sets, they've had vehicles, they have diorama pieces, they have various things that you can actually interact with the figures. This is not a toy line as much as it is more of an action figure line. They're going for 6-inch, 1/12 scale super articulated action figures, and they don't really carry the essence of what the Star Wars toy genre kind of was. Star Wars figures I always kind of equate to G.I. Joe, because G.I. Joe has a lot of the vehicles and accessories and things to interact with as well. And just this way, this method, it doesn't really appeal to a lot of Star Wars toy collectors such as myself. I do enjoy these as action figures, but as Star Wars collectibles and Star Wars toys in particular, the appeal just isn't there. One thing that I do want to point out is that this is the standard army builder that they released for 2014 for Star Wars Rebels. This was the standard army builder that they released for Star Wars: The Clone Wars back in 2008. You can see that for roughly the same price, I believe. I think they were both about the same price. This guy was a lot more. He had a lot more going on. He had, he has ball hinges all over. He came with, I believe, 3 weapons, and he just came with this little dinky E11. That is the problem. Star Wars toys are de-evolving in general. Even looking at this Shore Trooper, while it is a nice figure, it is $13, and this thing was only like 7 or 8 when it came out. And yeah, it's pretty obvious how the price has really gone up. Distribution has always been a problem for Hasbro Star Wars, especially since around 2013. I don't know why they haven't fixed that yet. It's a pretty big problem. But people always complain about, Star Wars figures. And yes, they have problems. I'm gonna say it is not as good now as it used to be, but we're still getting some really good products. We're getting Walmart 3 3/4 inch, which, while very hard to find, if you do manage to get your hands on it, are very satisfying collectibles. 6-inch Black Series is still a really good toy line. I mean, it's not really for me, but it's a really good toy line. I think for around the $20 price point, you pretty much get what you expect. And while I do think there are things they could improve, maybe raise the price point to make them even better, it's just not for me. In 5 POA, a lot of people just dismiss anything that is 5 POA, but this Saw Gerrera is a stunning figure. The whole Jedi Revolt set minus the Jinn is a really, really nice set. Pretty much, I'm still loving Hasbro. I love what they're doing with Transformers. I think Marvel Legends, for a lot of Marvel fans, like hardcore Marvel fans, is awesome. And Star Wars is, it's going. It's going. Hasbro does make a lot of issues and mistakes, and I can tell that the toy industry just is struggling to really assist with what collectors are demanding nowadays for mainstream action figures and toys. But yeah, guys, just don't say you hate Hasbro, because it's like that estranged relative you have where they're really they got a lot of problems, but you still love them, and you still enjoy seeing them. Anyways, guys, that's it. I'm happy with Star Wars collecting right now. I think we're getting some pretty good stuff, but it's nowhere near how nice it was a few years ago. Well, anyways, guys, I just want to make this little video talking about Hasbro because people are asking for a rant, and there isn't really anything to rant about. I'm not upset. But yeah, I don't like how they're phasing this out. They really should not do that. But if they have to, they will. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Check my Facebook and Instagram page if you have a chance. Have a good day, guys, and as always, may the Force be with you. Bye.